Welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee, guys. Appreciate you all being here. Good sunny day here in the East Coast, which you all know that most of you all know the state I'm in, Georgia. Looks nice out there for a change. Still getting rain a little bit here and there. Uh, Thank you for coming by. I almost says, welcome to Hillbilly. Keep Hillbilly in the wrong show, I was going to say. But Hillbilly's feeling under the weather. I was on the panel with them last night. Gizzard Gary hosted. Good show. I enjoyed it. Thank you for coming in. I'm going to discuss not only just chat, but some reloading topic, something I was reading earlier, guys. Thursday night, I did this, which some of you remember. BAO remembers. Let me call you out right quick first. Tactical Fuzz with his Milsurp Duo, Coat 1927. I'm here. Who else is here? 351 Cleveland joined us. Appreciate you guys showing up. Good to see you, Milsurp. I bought this, originally a 9mm. Year ago, 2 years ago, I can't remember now. And I wondered why I had to keep, changing the seating depth on it. Now, I don't have as much experience as Walter and some of these other guys, even Highboy and all them, with pistol reloading. Rifle, I do good on it. I'm okay. But this gauge, I was always kind of fascinated by. It's, 7 rounds instead of 1. And I'd like to have 100 round for 9mm and maybe 40 one day. But to get to the topic I want to discuss first, I went to their webpage this morning, a little while ago, a couple hours ago, and I read what this says. And then it dawned on me when I read it. I suspected it anyway last Thursday. Let me see. I'll put it on. Let me read it off here to you. This gauge, I don't know if all gauges are this way. It's just done with a reamer. So it's like a chamber. EGW does. And now it's $25. It used to be 20. So I was reading on it. And here's some things I want to mention on this thing, especially for new reloaders. It might help them. I think it would help them. It definitely helped me originally, even on the 9. It basically says, talks about the aluminum, what it's made out of. It says, we have found our gauges. Yeah, of course, extremely helpful when reloading ammo. Yep. This gauge checks for, we already know this, checking case length. That's pretty obvious regarding one of these. Checking a proper bullet seating depth. That's something I didn't quite know on that one. And that explains why I couldn't seat last night. Let me read this to you. It says install the bullet into the correct length case and drop it in our gauge. If the case is flush with the top of the gauge, the seating depth is correct for that shape, style, length, and weight bullet. So apparently this gauge is designed and kind of idiot proof. And that's great, I think, for new reloaders, which my show was about beginning reloaders too. And my profile. So I'm going to check it with hollow points too, maybe today or the next few days. So it goes into it saying that for shape, style, length, and bullet weight. And I thought, interesting. So that explains why crimping would not, remember, I mentioned to you, Viejo, that didn't matter how much I crimped, it would not, go flush. Well, that's because apparently it measures, you have to get the bullet seating depth right, because it's kind of idiot proof is what I'll call it. It says here, if the case protrudes slightly, remove the cartridge, reseat the bullet just a fraction of an inch deeper in the case and try again. If the case is still protruding, seat the bullet deeper and stop when the case sits flush with the gauge. Now, that's something I didn't know until basically today, but I did suspect it in the past, and especially Thursday night, definitely. So check this thing out. It kind of takes the guesswork out, and who knows, I'll test it, and maybe even using a barrel. We usually have to use a barrel which most of you are aware of, and maybe this takes that equation out. So I thought that interesting. And I mentioned to Viejo, Walter, I said, don't matter how much I crimp, it won't seat. So I kind of thought, well, it's not crimping, it's seating depth. Well, how on earth would this thing do that? Well, somehow they apparently, what I suspect, the lower part where they reamed it to where it would be like the lands. Maybe even though it don't look like the lands, they reamed it to a diameter where the bullet would not go in. That way, when you load around, it does not get stuck when you chamber it into the rifling, which some cast bullets do, I hear, according to Walter. I don't cast, so I'm not going to get into that one too well, too good. But I thought that was interesting. Let me close this out. I was going to open it up, but I thought I'd just read it to you all. But these case gauges are interesting. So, like I said, it's kind of idiot proof. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if Walter was aware of that. A lot of people don't use this gauge. I liked it just because it was 7 round, basically. But it's basically, it doesn't even say, it basically says ammo checker. But boy, do I like it. I really like it. Good morning, Moniker. Viejo, good to see you. Michael Dunn joined us. Raleigh Carvelis. Michael Dunn, yeah, good to see you guys, man. Thank you for coming by. Let's see who got Mill Syrup. Okay, got all of you. But that's interesting. So now, I'm probably going Thursday night. I'm going to recover this a little bit, and I'm going to redo this. Try to get the mic a little closer to me, and I am losing my voice too, like hillbilly. Man, my voice has been trailing off. People ask me, well, like, what am I saying? And it doesn't sound quite right to me. But pollen's kicking my, what. So I thought that's interesting. But what I'm going to do Thursday is I'm going to slightly, as it protrudes, I'm going to slightly, just a hair, seat the bullet till right to the point to where it drops. I don't want to go too much. And I'm going to eventually check it in my brother's chamber and let you guys know if it feeds. And has this worked the way they claim? And I suspect it will. But, man, you can't beat these. For new reloaders, what's the number one thing we most of us say? Even me, give us a barrel, especially on cast bullets. Well, I bet this would work great on a cast bullet. And I was not aware of this. I only suspected it Thursday night. And you all probably remember I said, don't matter what I do, the only way it seats flush is basically by shortening the length and seating the bullet deeper. So this is designed to show to give you the proper seating depth for the profile, the type of bullet you got, etc., which is interesting. And it's $25. It used to be 20 before COVID. And President Bite Me is Boodle Bob calls him. That's what he calls him. We'll talk on the phone sometime. He'll go, President Bite Me. I go, oh boy. And but that's interesting. That's something you all interested in. Check out EGW case gauges. It will help you in your early, reloading days for sure, because that's the number one problem is bullet seating depth. Now, you can measure it to the book, but what if it's a cast bullet? What if it's a bullet? And what if, like I'm loading the, I'll tell you, I was doing Acura 155 grain plated bullets. I do too, Viejo. I thought it was cool. Like I said, I suspected it that night, but I thought, well, surely, I'm not used to that. But then when I read the profile of the day, I said, wow, this thing shows the bullet seating depth and it takes in regard, the bullet profile, which is awesome. You also mentioned something, Walter, about where the shoulder breaks. And I think I kind of know what you mean there, on where it starts, an angle. And it looks pretty good. Now, I may have seated this Thursday night a little too short because I wasn't quite aware that it did the bullet seating depth. I should have known because that's what it was reacting and how it was acting when I was putting it in the case gauge. But I'll be very careful. This coming Thursday, I'm going to cover it again. And I'm going to do a show about that. And maybe a few other things I'll try to think up for you guys. I do want to be entertaining. I don't want to bore you to death. And I like, in streams, I think that's why I always like to stream with echo because we laugh sometimes. Sometimes we went crazy in early months, but we did clean up our act and had some fun. Still had fun. I enjoy Hillbillies streams. They're really, sometimes I laugh, and it's funny. I love his that technique and how he does Hillbilly. And but check his show out, guys, on Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you hadn't seen it yet. And he can't. It's a good show. It runs about 2 hours. Never used a light though. See, Fudd, I have one that has a rail. Okay, hang on a minute. I don't want to sit here and mumble. Let's see, Tactical Fudd, I have one that's a rail. Okay. Tactical Fudd. Michael Hurtnick joined us. Good to see you, Michael. Thank you for coming in, man. Like I say, it's sunny here on my coast. Is it sunny over there, Walter? Where you're at? It's 66 degrees here already. So we're getting spring. Boy, this is weird how I can't, you all know I've got a sports car. And, it's used, granted, 30-something years old. But when I first turned 40, I bought my first one. And, man, I was so excited I couldn't even hardly work that night. I was just like, wound up with adrenaline rush and everything. And I'd go out and show everybody my car, go out again on break. Sometimes they'd just let me leave the lab, and I would go out and show more people the car. And every year, and I think this is because I bought it, I start dreaming of the Corvette. I start dreaming sometimes, and I start thinking about riding around with the top off and all that. It just kind of hits you, that sense from years ago. And I call it Corvette fever. And I'm getting it this year, even though I can't drive. It's out there. I'm still getting it. You get that way too? Yep. My daughter looks at me. I said, God, I dreamed of riding around in my vet the other night. And I said, even when I don't dream about it, I said, I'll wake up and I'll see the pollen falling. And I said, it brings me back to the memories I had. Because that first few months, it was a blast. I went to Lake Lanier on Saturdays after I washed it. I went to Stone Mountain. Never been to Stone Mountain. I've been to Stone Mountain, but I never went to the beach. I went to the beach there. You name it, I was out there riding around on Saturday. I'd fill the tank up and go everywhere. The odd thing about that first car, and it ran perfect, like brand new. Whoever had it kept it in the garage for 6 years, 30,000 on it. That car would not run on American white gas. And I always liked that gas, so I put it in there. But it kept skipping. I thought, well, maybe it's got water in it. Went to another station here another day and put some in. Started skipping again. Well, I went to Quick Trip, put premium in it, never had a problem. I went to Racetrack, of course, all the others, premium, never had a problem. For some reason, and my brother, we work on cars over the years. I was a mechanic for a few years in the old days. And my brother could never answer it, and I could never figure it out. Why it would not run white gas. But morning, Vanessa, or morning, depending on where you're at. Yeah, this gauge is very interesting. I thought, wow, that's, if this really takes the place of the barrel, that would be great. And especially with new reloaders. I know I did. I needed all the help I could get. I watched Highboy like most of you do. In the early years, even with the Hornady, I sat and watched him for his videos of, pop up every day, boom, 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 boom. I had it memorized in my head. And I remember really even before he really even, when he only had the two presses, originally. And, but check this gauge out, EGW, especially if you're new. And I'm going to cover it, like I say, Thursday, but I think it's cool. But even so you can tell, even though this bullet's longer, and because the bullet's longer, look how far that sticks up. But as you start pushing that bullet down, it goes lower, 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 lower. So that kind of told me. And I just didn't want to state it in the show because I was not sure of the facts on the gauge. Well, that's what I was getting at, Michael. I haven't used that one. Walter said he hasn't heard of this, apparently, or used this gauge, so I assume he may not have heard of this. And I don't think most of us have. And I've got, this is my brother's. even though I'll be using it, I have a 9, and it did the same thing. I'd have to keep seating, and I kept thinking, well, it's got to be the crimp. And this is what happened to me personally a long year ago or two. I can't remember now. And I thought, this is strange. Little did I think to go on the how us guys are. We don't read half the time. And I didn't think to go on the website and read it. Before the show started, a couple hours, I went on and read the article. I went to their site, and I looked at it, and I says, wow, it does show the seating depth of a bullet, regardless of the bullet profile. So that's interesting that EGW did that. So I highly recommend it. Absolutely. Let's see. Walter, does the Wilson gauge, does it do seating depth that way of the bullet, or is it just the case gauge and the crimping? I assume Wilson probably don't do the bullet profile and the seating depth by the bullet, only by the case. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Let me know, Tactical FUD, if your case checker, RCBS, checks bullet length, especially different bullet profiles. But this one does, absolutely does, believe it or not. I thought that was a good, I wanted to come on and do a stream. That's actually why I posted and say hello to you guys. I just thought it was interesting. I said, now I know what's going on with this thing. But it's a nice little block. It's built well. Looks like almost like actually probably is engraving. And you can do 7 rounds at a time. One day, if I get the 650 conversion kit, I may end up doing get 100. I don't know if I'll ever. I might load some 9 like that or 40, because I'm gonna eventually get a 40 S&W. Because I carried a 40 for years. Let's see, I have the RCBS. Yeah, let me know, guys. Does it check your bullet length? Or does it just, if you crimp it right and size it right, then it seats? If it does not check the bullet length. But it specifically states here that it does. Hang on a minute. And I will put it up there. I don't know if you can read it. Let me blow this up here. You all might not can read that. But see, it says checking proper bullet seating depth. And it states here, depth is correct for the shape, style, length, and bullet weight. I thought the profile was there. I swear I thought it was. Huh. Okay, same thing. Style, shape, style would be the profile. But that's interesting. Been a while since I did this, so see, stop screen. Get off me. There we go. Let me go right there. But check it out, EGW case gauges, and I'll do a show on it Thursday night. I'm hoping I can, things don't interfere. I want to try to get back to streaming. Michael Hurtnick says, that's what I use, L.E. Wilson, just wondering how it compare. Yeah, well, I'll look it up for you, Michael, too. I'd like to read on that Wilson, because I don't think Wilson, I think there's a difference between a case headspace gauge than a chamber checker. And I would think that. I could be wrong. Walter, let me know if I am. But see, it says this is an ammo checker, and it definitely checks the bullet length of the entire round length. And I do know that rifle case gauges don't check bullet length. But I don't have L.E. Wilson pistol gauges, so I have no experience with them. Walter does, Mac, and Highboy, and a few others. But I like this. I want to check it though. I want to compare it, and I'm gonna slowly seat it. And I'm gonna text my brother again. I'm gonna say, I need your barrel. He keeps saying, when are you gonna load some 40? I says, well, I need your barrel, and he hasn't brought me the barrel yet. And we're gonna pull his barrel out, and I'm gonna compare it and see if it's right. And I bet it is. But it definitely, and that was good because, I didn't know anything about Acura bullets, plated. I've never loaded them. They says, yes, Wilson makes both case length gauge and cartridge gauge. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was thinking there were 2 different gauges like that. And apparently this one's, there's some gauges cover everything like this. Both these are different from headspace gauges. Okay. Yeah. So this says ammo checker. And I've often, years ago, on an ammo checker, well, what's the difference between a headspace? Well, I knew headspace. Of course I know the difference. But I thought, ammo checker. Well, welcome to the ammo checker. It really does check all the ammo. It checks the headspace. It checks the width, the bulge, or the crimp. It checks because the crimp, does hit spaces off the mouth, the head of the case there, the mouth. I mean, and it's just wild. I mean, but it's a good gauge. Something new for me, and I didn't know. And I think it will help beginning reloaders out too. Just if you get you a box like I do, I got Acura. Well, I can't find data on it. I know I can, compare lead data because I watched, Walter over the years, and I've watched Highboy, and and Georgia Shooting Connection, all those. When they're talking, I listen over the years. But so I bought these Acura, and bam, yeah, it's all in one. That's what I was. Yeah, definitely is. And it says Lyman makes a multi-gauge. Yes. Block 2. See, I never used that, but I've heard of it, definitely. I just ordered this, I think, at the time because it was just $20 and it was 7 rounds. And I said, hey, that's affordable. And today when I went on here, it was 25, which kind of, no surprise. Everything's going up these days. It's just outrageous out there what's happening with the prices. There's no reason every time, and I go a little political, that every time doggone an election, all of a sudden raw materials go sky high. Well, that's because policy. And I hate that because it hurts us bad, and it hurts new reloaders because they can't hardly afford to get into the hobby. But yeah, check it out, EGW. And I'll cover it on Thursday night too. But appreciate each and every one of you showing up today. Not going to be a long show. Just want to say hello. I'm about finished with my coffee. I thought, well, everybody, a few people, GGW, he says, do a coffee. I said, okay, I'll do it. I ordered it on, I can't remember if I ordered it from Midway or ordered it straight from EGW. I don't recall, Walter. It's been so long now. My brother ordered this one. I told him about it. Apparently I sent him the link. I just don't remember. He ordered this because he wanted some rounds loaded. And I sent him a link on the Acura because I think at the time it was like $60 for 500 plated bullets. I thought that was okay deal. And then we wound up buying, I think I mentioned this to most of y'all know this, that primers are in stock in Georgia now. The problem is, and this store I go to is formed years ago by an Athens police officer here in Georgia. And I think 1964, he started out of his garage, and it's a mom and pop, and I do buy stuff over the years there. But the thing I'll tell you, you have to haggle with the guns because they're priced high sometimes. And the primers are $100 a pop. And I told him, I said, I can't do it. My brother did buy these for $100. I said, I can't bring myself to do it, even though they're in stock pretty good now. Large rifle, small rifle, 41's in stock now. But they want $99.99 for it. And yeah, $22.50. Yeah, I seen on the EGW. I think it said $25. So yeah, no surprise. I think I know. I definitely last year or year before last, I paid $20 for mine, and my brother may have at the time. And but I sent him links to this stuff. I was surprised he ordered this stuff. He sent me a text that's done, and I said, wow, because he's like all of us. We watch our money. Tactical Fuss. Let me highlight you guys. I just got a lead. See, that's something I don't know about casting at all. I know one thing. These molds are definitely, unless I don't understand them, are definitely got a numbering system. I assume that's 148 grain wad cutter. And the number might be, see, Walter knows this. I definitely don't. And just ordered my first hollow point. Oh, wow. Mold Lyman 452-180 grain. Cool. I'm going to get into casting. I got a burner outside about 2 foot tall. I bought years ago for $10. I've got a tank of gas out there. I've checked it. I'm going to paint it, spray rust reformer on it, a stand, and I'm going to then put a layer of paint on it, high temp paint, and get me the 20-pound Lee mold, I think, Walter, if I'm not mistaken. I have to refer to Walter because he's the man on all this stuff. Him and Andy, 79Z28. He's been doing it for decades too. And he does zinc, where a lot of people didn't mess with zinc there at one time. Michael says, the Max Ellie Wilson, I made the mistake not getting the Max one. Mm-hmm. So I've never used minimum max gauge, or I didn't know one was available on that. But me, if this measures out with a barrel, which I think it will, and bullet profiles, it just kind of takes like what length should I buy this plated bullet, especially if there's no load data. Well, this here will tell you. So I think that's good, and definitely if it's right, almost right on, and it works right. Yeah, the Lee Pro 4 20-pound pot. Okay. Yeah, it's not that much. I'll get that and a few other things here down the road. Once I get my vet going and get all that done, knocked out of the way, it's going to be, like I said, I think I mentioned something in Hillbilly Stream last night. It'll probably be in the shop, I suspect, almost a year. I may get it out next year. I hope to get it out next year at this same time. So next summer or spring, I'll be out on the road. Eventually, I may go see Echo in Tennessee. I may go out to Arizona. I may stop in and say hello to Mac. I want to go to Tombstone. I want to drive on Route 66. And I got a cousin up in the mountains. I want to go see him. And a friend from England. She's getting up there in age now. And I want to go visit her before she passes. And she's not in good health. Part of her liver's been failing. Let me see what here. Walter has so much. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all those guys cast a lot, boy. And casting's just, I don't know the cost totally. I know you save. You only spend, especially if you got a lead supplier where you don't pay much for it. But I haven't calculated yet if I purchase lead, how much I'll save. Walter could answer this question. And sorry, I don't have a panel member. I just don't usually do it. I can pull one up, but I haven't. I think I've had Milsurp Duo. He was on one time. Al Chafe, my back step, was on with me one time. He come up on the panel. But I don't mind. Anybody's welcome to come on the panel anytime. Talk a little bit. Oh, D-Dub D37 is with us. Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you for dropping by, man. Highlight him. Been casting for years, coat, but just getting into powder coating. Yeah. Yeah, I told my brother about that. And I said, people like Walter and, everybody, CW, all those people, they powder coat. And my brother's got a Model 10 from I can't remember exact year, but don't quote me, 46, 5-inch barrel and a military lanyard thing on it. It was my father's. And it's a little holster wear, but in perfect shape, 38 special. It's a nice gun. And yeah, I've been on there. Let's see. Yeah, I will eventually calculate what I save if I have to buy lead, because I can't get lead around here. I don't care what anybody says. I've tried. I went to one man. He restores he does tires, and he restores VWs and sells them. He said, you know what I get for that? I said, no. He said, 30,000, 20,000. I said, oh, okay. And I says, would you sell me your lead? And I gave him a price, and he said, that's not even worth my trouble. I said, well, I'm going to do all the work. I'll come in and separate it, and you don't do nothing. Nah. I said, well, I'm not going. I wasn't going to give him no $2 a pound, and that's about probably what he wanted for me to get it. And so nobody out here in this area, rural area, wants to do away with it. They'll give you lead for any decent price. Then you got steel you got to separate. My gosh. I do have, I think, 9 pounds I bought here for $18 from a guy, and I wound up having to pull so much steel out of it. It was crazy. I thought I was buying, I forget how many pounds exactly. Can't remember now. I think 18 pounds I thought it was. I wound up with only 9 when I got through. But 5 pounds, that's not bad. Surprise, yeah. I think there's a few other sites sometimes that has it. Used to have it. I used to look at those prices occasionally. Let me scroll back through, you guys. Let's see. Video said that. Yeah, sorry about that, Walter. I don't recall. I could have, knowing me, I don't think I got it from EGW. I think most likely it was probably Midway, but I could be wrong on it. I'd have to go back and look at the receipts. You know how it is when you buy gear over the years. Like I say, I'll ask my brother about this one, and I'll let you all know Thursday where he got it. But they're reasonable, 7, things. But that does explain the bullet, why I couldn't get it to chamber until I got the length right. I think I crimped it to death, thinking, well, maybe it'll seat, but no. Let's see what Colt's got here. Yes, Viejo, yeah, just for 40 S&W. Yeah, 40 S&W case gauge ammo checker. Then I got my 9 over here, which I've had for a couple of years. 9mm case gauge ammo checker. See, I had the same problem with this one, and it kind of, I thought, I said, I said, I crimped, it won't seat, and then I realized that even then I realized the length, but I didn't know it was actually a length checker. I didn't go back and read the about our product detail site at the company. Let's see, Colt says, I bought a lot of lead from Roto Metals. They used to ship free if you order 100. Wow. If it fits, it ships. Yep. I've had postal workers come up here and with dog food can, and I tell them just roll it out on the driveway. I'll come down and get it with a hand truck. And one time they actually put that they undeliverable because they didn't want to take it out of the truck. And I called the post office, and they did deliver it the next day. Yes, the holes are all the same. Video, yep. 7 rounds you can put in there. Like right here, see, this is seated deep. Like I said, the longer you got the bullet, the further it sticks out. And I almost had it the other night. Walter, I think you were there. You may have went out early. I don't remember, but it kept going. Every time I would size it, it would go just a little bit lower. I'd seat it. I'd seat it. It'd go a little bit lower, and then bingo, there it is now. Right there. And that's the one I loaded, the dummy round. And it looks right. It does. And you can see it. You probably can't see, and I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can. This camera don't focus worth a crap. So that's another problem. It breaks, kind of like you were talking about, Walter. So it looks right to me. It actually does. You can compare it now. Is it a little shorter than the Spearman Lawman? Yes, it is. But Spearman Lawman has a different. It looks similar, but naturally it has a little bit different profile. The bullet looks a little. It's definitely out a little more. So that's why I didn't really go by the book, naturally. But it looks fine, and I think it'll shoot good. Like I said, work your load up though, because pressures. Definitely. Now on some 9, I'll admit I load almost to max and I go shoot, but I don't recommend it. Disclaimer: if you get good at it, I'm sure Walter probably knows what he can load at. I know he does, and Highboy and a bunch of others. But we don't recommend it. And use books. Get your books. Always, and look at multiple books. And don't go by online internet stuff. I do read some of the stuff in the forums and other forums, even before I was in Highboy's forum, but I don't take it as gospel. Absolutely not. Let me see what Viejo's got here. Looks like they make a multi-caliber gauge as well. I think I'd rather have that one. I don't see the. Yeah, I didn't either. It was just so cheap, $20. I said, yeah, I'll check 7 bullets I can check 7 rounds at a time. To me, that was. I don't load 9mm on a 650. I do it on the turret, and I don't load for speed. I load because I enjoy it, and it's therapeutic for me. It just kind of takes my mind off things, kind of like streaming does. I get on streaming, I don't really, my mind just relaxes down, and reloading is therapeutic to me. Kind of gets your mind off things. And not only that, I was used to years of working, setting up machines and things. And it's just kind of the thing I've always been a mechanical type guy like that. But yeah, that would be good too, Walter. Yeah. And actually, I might get one. I didn't know. I'll check that out because I wasn't aware. So apparently, I definitely didn't buy it from them because I didn't see all those others. So most likely it was Midway. I think I may have got it. Let me see what he says here. Multi-case caliber gauge covers 9. Wow. Yeah, I wish I had that one. I don't have 45 ACP, but who knows? I basically I want 10 millimeter. I think, man, that would just be awesome. Same price, $22.50. Okay, I did see multiple out. They even have 100 round trays. I did see that. I didn't really explore the side. I just kind of got to the chase, cut right to it and read this, and I said, okay, wow, okay. It checks bullet, shape, profile, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought that was cool. And, new reloaders need all the help they can get. The worst thing they can do is load a hot round, get injured, load a round too long, get to the range. What happens if, and they're shooting, all of a sudden their gun jams? It's just, you don't want that happening. And if this gauge works as good, and I'm sure it does, it's really a great gauge for beginners and anybody, really. And apparently there's others. And I knew there were ammo checkers out there versus case gauges. And I've known that for a long time, but I wasn't really that up to speed on what the difference was. But now I am. So we're always learning, guys. I'm still learning. And the thing about me, I don't close my mind to learning. I think learning never stops. You just keep learning. I mean, I keep, even now I read video editing. I research video editing on YouTube. I do occasional guitar lessons. I'm just constantly, like years ago, I needed to learn sheetrock. I learned some sheetrock on YouTube. And now I'm going to actually make a pass-through wall. I was going to knock the wall out over here in my kitchen. Well, that way. No, actually be that way. No, it would be that way. Anyway, you wouldn't know it here watching me. But I was going to take the complete wall out. And I cut the sheetrock out and a few studs. And I says, I've got engineered rafter, so it's not a load-bearing wall. And I says, I let it sit for a few years here now. And I says, one day I was watching this old house, and they were talking about a pass-through wall. Well, I think I'll just make a big square. I may end up doing the corners, 45 degree. And I may even take wood trim and caulk it up and paint it. Oh, good morning, old one guy. Good to see you, brother. Good to see all you guys. Well, starting to get some on here. I knew nobody was streaming. I think at one time Gizzard Gary was streaming 4 hours. He mentioned in the backside chat here the other night, last night. And excuse me, I know Georgia Trapping streams at I think 2:00 Eastern Standard. Yeah, and I didn't want to go over him, and so I thought, hey man, it's a good time slot for Sunday to say hello. And I wanted to discuss the gauge, kind of keep it reloading. I didn't really want to go political. I will, occasionally I do state politics. And now why? Because I think it affects us. It definitely affects us. Thing is, I don't like to lose you guys if my opinion may be a little different than yours. That's another issue about politics in a social platform. But we're all a lot alike and think alike in one form or another when it comes to everything. I think from prepping to reloading, to all that. And I mentioned this a while back. We got a lot in common with the preppers and all that, reloaders do, because we like bulk and putting stuff back. I bought some military gear yesterday. My daughter did from her. Her husband knows a guy that the lady's husband, I think, passed. No, he's retiring now, and getting older. And he's got a ton of big giant ammo cans and regular, you name it, everywhere in a basement. The camo big jet, and you can put over a house or a tank. I got that now. I got military bags I bought from them yesterday evening. They come over to help me get my tires on. We had to go down and get them mounted. I had to take them off one side of the car at a time because I can't get the vet in the air even with 4 jack stands. It's just too complex. It could damage the bottom of it. And so I bought 3 bags. One, I think, was a skydiving helmet bag, but it's nice for camping. I bought 2 big bags, military grade, and then that one camo net. Boy, that thing, I didn't realize it. I looked at it. I picked the bag up about an hour or so ago for the show. Man, it's like 20 pounds. So I got a net out there, man. I could literally almost drape over my house and hide it from the enemy. So I thought that was cool. I told my daughter, I said, you know, man, I when I was 6 years old, I got my first military pup tent. I loved outdoors and camping. Time I was 10 years old, I was out in a pup tent, not a military one, but a tent, and spending the day in the snow with my tent, set up. So I just love military gear. But definitely on those ammo cans, I told Jennifer, I said, you want it? And I said, you ain't kidding, I want that stuff. He said, he is loaded. He was in the military for so many years. He just got tons of stuff. I said, you're talking about big military cans. I said, well, I couldn't carry them probably with the ammo, but I said, bring them here. I'll find a storage use for them, and I'll buy them from you. And they're letting me have it dirt cheap. We're talking not even a third of the cost of used. So I could have got actually what I got yesterday really cheap. Let's see. Colt says, I used to camp with a two. Yeah, I've heard of them. I had the old original, even in the Scouts in the 60s. I had the old, just the old, no floor, canvas military tent. And the first one I got when I was about 6 years old, 6 or 7, was actually, I think probably 6, was a used one from next door. It was a little bit ragged, it was worn. My mother bought it for me. And boy, I got that thing pitched. I don't ever know what happened to it. Apparently we moved and didn't take it with us. Oh, one guy. Good to see you, though. Appreciate you dropping in here, man. Let me go up here and make sure I didn't miss anybody. Sometimes you get talking, you kind of looking at the screen and camera, and you forget. Most of the time, I do try to keep my eye on the side chat, though, definitely. Let's see. So, like Walter said earlier, I didn't know Wilson made both case length gauges and cartridge gauge. They're different. I was aware that they were two different type gauges. I just didn't know the tech, behind it. So I would rather have this because, like I say, it makes my life easier. Like those Acura, I didn't know exactly where they would feed in my brother's barrel, but apparently with this gauge, I'm thinking I'll actually text him today and tell him to come over. And he's retired too. He fell off a tractor trailer and injured himself. And at 61 or 62, I can't remember now. No, actually, Bobby, I think 59 or 60, come to think of it. So he retired early. I think at 63. He officially retired. So he goes out, and he bought him a Harley, which I mentioned that. Walter probably recalls it. Bought him a Sportster, one of those black ones. And he put a upgraded exhaust on it. He changed the oil, which he's always does that. He's fanatical when it comes to oil change. And even with my 89 Corvette, I'm going to change everything on it. Power steering fluid, brake fluid, I'm going to flush completely out. I'm going to do rear end grease. You name it, I'm going to do it on it. And I like the tires. I got Toyo Extensia HP. A little bit aggressive, wide channels compared to a Goodyear. I always drove on Goodyear. Problem is, Goodyear, when they come, especially on a car, and I think these original tires, they actually keeping them for me at Discount Tire, because a lot of people will keep the original tires. They're dry rotted in the center. They have no DOT number on them either. And they even mentioned the guys there. I said, "This is an old tire." I said, "Yeah, we don't know the true age." I said, "I suspect it may be the original tire." But Goodyear's like a 200 tread wear. Now, I do know mine now are 500 tread wear. So, Coach says I used to come with, canvas. Yeah. Well, when I go into a military place now, surplus, it's a lot of China stuff here and there, or who knows where. Back in the day when I was young, it was all from, Vietnam, Korean War, World War II. I mean, I used to see German when I was a kid. I used to see German helmets lined up in the old military surplus stores. They had one in Doraville. It's called Old Sarge. It was down in a hole. Man, that thing, everywhere you look, tents, helmets. I think they even had, if I'm not mistaken, they may have even had Nazi. Yeah, they did. They had German helmets. They had everything back then. Hey, good morning, Gizzard Gary. He's out to sea. What did I say? Kansas? I have a bad memory. I'm getting old, so if I called that out wrong. Good to see you, Gizzard. Thank you for dropping by, man. Appreciate it. We were going over case gauge, but like I say, I'll discuss this too in the show Thursday. And Mac told me, like I said, Mac told me in a text that you need to break and get that Sony. He's right. I do need that Sony. I can focus in on stuff. I can use the audio on it and everything. So God, man, I'm so much in debt with that car. I told my daughter, I said, if it wasn't for my age is not really stopping me, I don't think so much. It's mostly my injury in my back. If it wasn't for that, 10 years ago, 15, I would pull that motor. I'd pull it myself, break it down, take machine shop, bring it back. And I would have it probably running here hopefully by midsummer, into summer. But it's just, once age starts hitting you, especially a back injury, it's kind of hard to do. And I'd have to buy a lift. My brother does have a lift, and I usually borrow it. But last I used it, it was actually slipping down. I think he told me the grease was contaminated, and it looked really bad, or the jack oil in it. Let me see. He said, yeah, I kind of thought it was. Yeah, still morning here for 15 minutes. But anyway, I appreciate you guys showing up. Who knows? I admit I'm not used to doing a lot of tutorial streams, or workshops. But I definitely know I need a better camera and audio gear. Like I said, I've already got trail off issues with pollen about to kill me. Like Hillbilly's got issues with it. And a few weeks ago, I lost my voice. I was talking to somebody, and they just look at me and go, "What'd you say?" And I said, "Sorry, my voice just was fading away. It gets really weak." It's fine. I think 20 years ago, 30, pollen did not bother me, even though I had allergies. But boy, it gets me now. My nose has been stopped up a lot lately for weeks. Sometimes in the morning, I'll take Phasedrin, 30 milligram, and do it. But enjoyed the show last night, Gizzard Gary. Pleasure being on with you, brother. I enjoyed it. Like I say, if you'd probably been streaming, I probably wouldn't have did a stream here. And but fantastic having you guys on. Wow, got 15. Amazing. But that's probably about all I'm going to cover. I say, for some of you that might not have tuned in, I got Silhouette for the 40. And it says it's made for law enforcement and low flash profile, And so that's why I picked it out. And I'm not going to, live stream, I'm not going to talk about how much I'm on. Can't say I only load dummy rounds. But if we do it, I won't get into the grain or anything like that. I'll stay out of that. The bullet length, yeah, and I'm surprised they still let us do that, really in a stream. And but then again, I could end up getting a strike one day. Who knows? Thank you, Walter. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I thought it was because I was having trouble in that stream, going, well, this thing will not, get flush. But it kept getting, the more I seated the bullet, the more it started chamber checking. And of course, I was like everybody else. I looked and I said, well, there's no rifling. But apparently they sized it probably to match the rifling, I suspect. It would have to be that. And so when that bullet goes in there, if it passes through this and sits, it'll go in the gun. But I'm going to check that theory and, seat it right to this and put it in my brother's barrel. And I may do that in a show too. Actually, I will. I'll get the barrel. I don't think they can get me for a barrel. I hope not. One strike I could probably tolerate. I don't want to bring my channel down, definitely. I think I know someone else in here got a strike here recently. And that's a shame. Shouldn't be happening. We should be encouraging young people to shoot and be safe with guns. And we should be encouraging people to learn reloading, that art and that hobby. And instead, the whack jobs think we're apparently evil people because we do this. Oh my God, they're making lead. Oh my God, they're making bullets. Oh my God, they own ARs. Oh my God, they got semi-autos. It makes me sick. I'll get to this one, and I've said it a few times, and I won't go deep into politics. Never in my life, I've seen protests because I grew up in the 60s as a kid. The country was a mess in the 60s. There was a lot of turmoil in the streets, bombings, everything. But I never thought I'd see a friggin' generation walk in the streets and say, please take my gun, Uncle Sam. Please take it. We want you to take it. I just can't, I cannot wrap my head around that, and never have past few years. And I hear them, occasionally like you all do on TV, saying, oh, that gun's awful. Well, try a 308, 30-06 and shoot somebody with it and see what it does compared to, the 223. So that's ridiculous. Not only that, I do believe, what does it say? When the government fears us, it's not peace, but when they don't fear us, there's tyranny. So I believe in that. So tactical fuzz, I wish I would have learned reloading back. Yeah, so it's a good thing to learn. There's nothing wrong with it. I think if anything's wrong with this new generation, they're not learning gun safety. They're not learning how to handle guns. And then they get a hold of a gun, they get, naturally they're curious. They get a gun and then they get mad. Nobody taught them, well, don't ever touch a gun when you're mad. Never point it at someone. So what do? They just get a gun and shoot somebody or go to school. That could be leading to it. Now, granted, mental health is some of it. I do believe that, definitely. But how do we know that if they're so now all of them's not anti-gun because some of these parents own guns, but that don't mean that parent taught them safe gun handling. They may tell you that, but how do you know? But I think it needs to be taught like everything else. I'm teaching my great-grandson. Now he's 10. I said, wow. Last time I took him camping, he was 6. And I've told him before, I said, never point the gun at no one, never get mad with a gun in your hand. If you're mad, leave the gun alone. You just don't do it. You can't recall a bullet. Once it's gone, it's gone. And but yeah, I wish more kids would do it. I think if we had things like that for children, that you probably in certain sectors of our society, some moderate to conservative, I believe they would probably not do that. Of course, then again, most gun households that teaches that, I don't think their kids go crazy. It seems to me it's always there's a lot of things tied into those shootings. Sometimes, most of the time, we know it's mental health. Second, we know they say also, now I shouldn't say this probably, but military people, I've actually listened to interviews on YouTube a lot over that, say that basically that some of the video games are basically just mass slaughter, just mass killing. And they say it's hard to kill somebody. So you have to really desensitize a kid or any human being to be able to pull that trigger. And so how do we not know that it's a video game in an early age and they're just sitting there killing, just constantly? It could be part of the equation, but that's debatable. And but some military men call it mass killing training simulators. But let's see what he says here. Colt, I don't get in because some guys do loading and live shooting videos. I think it might be due to sponsors. Oh, I don't get it because some guys do loading and live shooting videos. Oh, okay. I don't have a sponsor, that's for sure. I've never did a lot of tutorials. So I've got to hone my skills on that, definitely. Let's see. I've got 13 on. I think we had about 14 on earlier, 15. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to go ahead and log off. We've been on here for, 53 minutes. That's almost an hour. I didn't want to get out here and run out of topics and then trail off into politics too much. I do like to state my opinion, though, because we're all alike when it comes to guns and all that. But I do think it needs to be taught more. We do need mental health in this country. And it bothers me when I see these mass shootings. And it's just unbelievable, that it's happening. And but anyway, you all take care. I'm getting the urge where I just pop up a stream occasionally. If nobody's streaming, I may throw one up. Like I said, I'll try to do a little more morning coffees occasionally and try to get at least one topic, And got the big old whiteboard up there, and we'll do it. And great hanging with you guys. God bless. You all have a good Sunday. Take care. Hope I see. Did I miss anybody? Nope. New York Outcast. Hey, buddy. Let me highlight that right quick before I go. I hate signing off without saying hello to some people. Some people have raised and unrealistic expectations on life. Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, good evening, guys. God bless.